This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, we had a lot of rain this week and we're going to have more rain coming up next week, but that didn't stop us from getting tasks done. We just worked a little bit longer on the days we could work.
And we're going to do it again next week because it's going to rain almost the same thing. It's going to rain 3 days straight next week. So this is Monday and we're going to work long, and Tuesday we're going to work long, and Saturday we're going to work long to make up for lost time during the middle of the week. But we've got a lot of shipments coming in of stuff. Part of this is because we're trying to get under the possible tariffs that are looming from places like Europe and things, China and stuff. So we've had a lot of shipments coming in and we've got a lot of stuff. In fact, one of those things we just received this morning. Marianne was on the way over to the lot and they delivered this. So let me show you what it is. We haven't looked at this yet. We just slit the top of the box open, so I have no idea what's going to exactly be in here. Okay, we'll get back to that. I'll explain what that is in a minute. Let's get to the big things first. That'll be underneath it here. So what we have here is the Equator underwater light from Astel. And to be upfront and honest, Astel has decided to sponsor us. And we hadn't considered putting underwater lights on underneath the boat. Just because we're trying to keep, some costs down, and this is a luxury for us. But what super yachts have, we can have, since they're sponsoring us. So they have been kind enough to send us their top of the line underwater light, and this thing has multiple colors that you can use from their console. And we're going to have two of these, one at the bottom of each sugar scoop, so they mounted, and they only require a very small hole. That's the entire size of the hole that we're going to be putting, to get this wire through. So it's not a big risk of serious leakage. And then the compartment that they'll be in is a sealed compartment. So even if it flooded, it can't flood the rest of the boat anyway. It's a very small little area. So we're confident that this will work out fine. They're very low profile, which is not going to cause any drag issues. Incredibly bright, and you'll get to see these in action when we get started. In fact, it'll be really nice when we finally launch the boat and we first lower it into the water. We can turn these things on, because that'll be at 3 or 4 and then 5 in the morning, somewhere around there. So it'll be dark when we put the boat in the water, so it'll be nice to be able to see. So we're really excited about these lights and thankful that Astel decided to become one of our sponsors. So thank you to them. And so the two of these are in there, and then this is the control unit, and this allows us to dial in whatever color we want on those lights and control the lights. So very cool products. We're excited to have them. I'm not sure what's in this box. Probably just wiring or something. Get the ghost farts out of the way. Oh, this is their interface module that will tie this in. So that's another optional item, but they were kind enough to go ahead and also include that for us as well. So that'll help us in the control and wiring of the whole thing to our system on the boat. We'll talk more about this as we install it, test it, and all those kinds of things. But we're going to have underwater lights when we weren't going to have them before. Not that I, like I say, wouldn't like them. I love them. It's just there's a cost involved. So now, one of the other things I'll just mention that's really nice about having underwater lights is that when you're coming back to your boat at night in a dark anchorage, and there's a bunch of boats out there, if you've left these lights on, your whole boat is going to glow the water around it in whatever color you've set up. And so that'll help you locate your boat out in the dark. Next phase of our hatches here is to glass them in. So we need to give some more support since your weight's going to be on there. We don't want just the glue. It's probably strong enough, but we're going to put a tab around those as well. And then the other thing we need to do is drill our holes through here and seal them up so that the water has somewhere to go out from their troughs. But these are closing in on being finished now, and they're looking just fine. Let me grab a hatch. So that sits there like that. And we already got our hinges, so we'll be mounting those once we get the rest of this glassing done and the holes drilled in here. And we'll mount our hinges, and this will function. So what we're doing here is measure down and cut a hole through the outer piece of fiberglass here and into the foam. And then we're using the Dremel to take the rest of the foam out to the fiberglass on the other side, but not go through. Now we're going to fill these with epoxy and let it set up. Then we'll drill from the other side with an extension, and it'll go right through the epoxy so there won't be any leak into the foam here. And those will be the drain holes for all these troughs as they come out, and they'll just drain out here rather than there. These don't have to drain a lot of water, because even if a big deluge of water somehow came over here, it's mostly just going to run right off of this. Only a little bit is going to seep into this thin crack as it is. Even if a lot of water came over, it would just run off. So what little water does come in can run in that trough and out these holes easily. And remember, we're underneath the hardtop here, so the amount of water that's going to get in here is really not much. But you never know. Like I say, with rain coming from the side a little bit, until we put up our enclosures or something, we could have some rain that blew in, but it's really not going to be enough to overwhelm these troughs. Job one of today is done. We put coves down inside of here for the water to run in rather than just the sharp crack in there, and also just in case there was still, any gap between those boards that hadn't gotten sealed. Now there's a bead around there. And then we've sealed up our drilled holes here with epoxy, and we'll be drilling a hole through the center of those to let the water drain out. So there's all the way around here for all those drains. All right, so tomorrow we'll drill the holes in these and put the hatches on them. I don't think we'll put the hinges on yet, simply because we don't want to mess them up. So we'll just put the hatches on here, and then later we'll screw the hinges on when we're further done with fairing and such. Well, we showed you this morning that we've been putting some coves in and drilling holes and filling those with epoxy, but none of that keeps our averages of getting 3 new pieces glued in and tabbed each day. That's okay, because it's not even lunchtime yet, and we're going to glue in 3 pieces right now. And then after lunch, we're going to tab a whole bunch of that bench stuff that we did. So we'll get much more than 3 there, but we'll get 3 pieces glued in and maybe, 8 tabs over there. And then we'll see what else we can do. Probably back on the nav station after that. So Brian's mixing up right now, and I'm just waiting for him to bring over our epoxy. And we're going to put this piece together. Let me get some gloves. Now we want to glue all 3 of these at once to make sure that everything's working together. If we glue on just this bottom, it could be tilted slightly wrong, or one of those could be tilted slightly wrong. So if we put all 3 of these on together and glue them at once, then we'll know that they're all as tight as they can be. So that's why we're doing it this way. We'll glue this final piece in after this is all set up. We wanted to make sure the exact size, so we just glued this in. Then we'll measure and cut the piece that goes in here. Time to tab on our water trough system in the bench here. So we're putting a little thickened epoxy along the bottom to make that transition a little bit better. That's down in here. So I'll get in there and smooth that out. All right, all done. So these are all tabbed in here now. That has a little strength beyond just the glue when we're sitting on it. The front edge is held up by landing on this, and the back edge has the hinges, but it still lands on these water troughs, so we thought we'd strengthen them up with a layer of glass underneath. So that's all done now. All we have left to do now is drill these to let the water out and start putting the back on, which I've just set there right now. I've got a little bit of gaposis right there, so I've got some extra length here on there, so I'm going to recut that angle to be correct to match up over there. And fortunately I had a little to work with there, so we're good. I will reach. It's hot already. It is. Sweet, we're all done. Corner tabbed, and that's the end of today. So we did well though. We got a lot of tabbing done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 tabs, and a few new pieces as well. So head of the game again today. We want to build the nav station where I'm sitting right here, but this little access port we put in here for our electrical, when we need to feed electrical from that comes over behind here and then dives down right here, we need to fix this access port up for it. And so we need something to support this shelf right here, so we've created these little brackets, and they're going to go in here like this all the way around. And we'll just glue those in, and then the shelf can, the port, access port can sit on top of that. All right, so that'll give us a nice surface to drop that hatch down onto. We'll be cutting a hole through the hatch right here to the wires to go down through there. So now I did the hatch there. Brian used the rest of the epoxy over here and fixed up the bottom of the nav station. We had to do a little fill area there, and then out here we had to do a little repair on one of the holes we drilled because it was a little off, so we fixed that. And then over here, you got some down in there. I'm gonna fill that inside. We decided to do here was we have a hole coming out for the drain here, but it was too hard to get one here, so we're putting a little trough through that the water comes here, will come through and then come out the same hole. This one's for the nav station. This is the corner coming up from the stairway and turning into the nav station. And we don't want a sharp 90 there like was in the plan. We prefer rounded corners when we're walking and coming around a corner. It's just better on a boat, pitching decks and such, to have rounded corners so they're less bruising on the hips. So you can see what I mean by that right here. How many times are we going to come around this corner versus a sharp bit to run into there? So, you know, every time we want to come around that rounded corner, you can rub along it even, and it's not going to snag and hit you. So these rounded corners like this are beautiful for boat work like that. I don't mean beautiful as in we did beautiful, although I like the way they're coming out, but beautiful as in not bruising to your body beautiful. So we're putting these every time we can where you're coming around a corner. We're going to have this same exact radius everywhere so it matches on the boat. We didn't think we'd be doing this one right now, but we thought we'd mix separately for this, but we prepped it because, again, it's always nice to have another job ready in case you have too much epoxy. And again, we had too much epoxy mix, so it all went in here, and now we only had to mix a little bit more and we're all set. So another one of these done, and there aren't that many more. We already did the two that go over there. There's two at the nav station. We go around the nav station. This is one of the two, so that leaves one of those. And then there's two more curved corners where we go around the galley arm that sticks out. So that means there's three more. And there's one at the edge of this little bench on the other side over here. So that's four more. And that's it. And we have to do four more of these curved corners to round all the corners that we might walk around as we move around the boat. So now these, again, none of these were called for in the plans. They just did 90 degrees on all this stuff, but I just feel like the corners are going to be nicer with these on there. So as you can see, it didn't take us a total of maybe 30-40 minutes of work to make one of these. So it's really not any big deal to make 6 or 7. So now we're trying to seal this up. So we've cut our first piece here. Now, as you notice, it's not tall enough. Well, that's okay, because we're going to add on to this board and get it up there. We're running out of offcuts that are large, so we don't want to waste anything. So by using this one, which used to be for this area, it was just turned the other way, we can save some. So all we need to do now is take and cut this piece to the right height. All right. Good line there? Okay. All right, so connect the lines and we're going to cut right down the line. You good? Yep. So what we're making here is the frame for our doors that are going to go into that storage area that's there between the two rounded curved spots. So these are going to be doors, and we have the top of the frame already because it was a separate piece. And so now we have to core both doors, and we've got to core the inside of this as well. So we're going to do that right now. All set. Ready for some epoxy. And the other door all set as well. We're putting our hinge on here like about there. Well, it's been raining for 3 days straight, so we've been unable to work. And I just arrived, so I'm going to find out just how muddy and stuff it is in the yard. So let me get the gate open. Well, the good news is there was standing water here on the security cameras yesterday. And it's still pretty muddy there, but at least the standing water has already evaporated. Doesn't look too bad coming through here. Looks like all of the tarps did pretty well. We got a little bit of a bathtub right here, but that's not much. I'll have to check out the rest of the boat. All right, so I'll start with, let's look here. Got a little bit of water in the boat here. That's because we didn't have much protection right here from the water, so a little bit got in. I'll have to pump that out. But the engine compartment is dry, and that's something I really wanted. Let's go further up here. You can see we put on a lot of tarps to cover the sides, other than that one spot there. So, pretty sure all these are dry. That gives us to this side of the boat. A little bit of water in that one. And a tiny little bit right there. That's not bad though. Nothing in there. Nothing inside here. Got a little bit in the bilge right there. So I'll get working on that, get the pump, and start getting that little bit of water in there. It's not much though. Next, I'm going to get inside the boat and take a look there. All right, let's see if there's any water inside at all. Some light on in here. Well, everything looks dry inside the boat. Yep, we're dry. So we came through that weather pretty well. This is one of the first areas that we're gonna be working on today. So this is all dry, that's good. It's a little bit on the floor there, but we're not working there. So we can get started on finishing up that cupboard area right there. This is all set up now. This is the nav station bench corner. Okay, this goes over here, and it will become the corner that goes right there. So as you come up these stairs and make the turn to sit down at the bench, it'll be a rounded corner there, and we've got another one that we'll put over on this side as well, so it doesn't matter whether you come in from that side or this side, it'll be a rounded corner coming in. Okay, but this is not a priority for today, so I'm going to set that aside. We already have the parts cut for finishing that cupboard, but what we need to do to these is fill in the routed out sections of these. These are the doors and this is the frame, so we're going to have to do that right away. And so we'll do that, and we won't actually put that in there until tomorrow, or Monday actually, but we'll get the frame all done for that. This is all set up now. I'll save my jigs for later. We're going to need those 3 more times, I think. Yeah, we'll suck this all out. Okay, all the water's out. So we're switching gears a bit, and I'll explain what we're doing in a minute, but as part of that, we've got to temporarily get our hatches that are up in the Salon in there, so I needed to grind off a little bit on the edges. All right. There we go. And then the other one goes over here, one way or another, top, front. Huh. Okay, right there. So it's time to work on the cabin top, and that's why we've cleared out everything out of here to make room for us to work around here. And the thing is that this cabin top isn't attached to most of anything here. And that's because there's a lot of different little jobs that we have to do to it. For one thing, there's a bunch of squeeze out hanging down up here. And Jeff's gonna be getting to that. Come on in, Jeff. So we've got him dressed up in his own bunny suit now, and he's gonna get a full face mask on. He start out by using a vibrator tool and take off the biggest chunks, and then use a grinder to take off the little stuff. So we're gonna make him do that, or he volunteered. We're not making him. So why are we doing the roof now? Because we were doing furniture in here, right? Well, the reason we're doing the roof right now is because the furniture, if we built the nav station right here, let me turn my camera. If we built the nav station over here and we built the small table seating over here, we can't get to this window area anymore. Or I shouldn't say we can't get there. What we would get is leaning over difficult work. And the thing is that there's a whole bunch of columns that go between the windows and down. These are called mullions. And we have to construct those mullions, and you have to mount them and glass them to this. And that's a lot of work that we don't want to be leaning over stuff to do. So it's time to get this roof done. And there's a lot of jobs to do to get this roof finished up. So we figured this is probably going to take the better part of the next month to do it all. We got to finish 3 spots in the rain catchment system that were never completed because the forms were in their way at the time that it was sitting there. So now that it's not on those forms, we can finish those last 3 spots. We have a couple little corner pieces that need to get fixed. We'll do that. We need to glass, after Jeff finishes this, we need to glass these with tabbing, all these joints from the inside. The top's already done, but the inside we have to do. We have to cut out all of the windows in here, and the reason we need to cut those windows out is we're using the cutout material to create some of the mullions. And so we need to cut those out. And the other thing is that even if we didn't need that material, when we put the mullions in, we glass around the edges of the cutouts. And so these windows have to get cut out to do the mullions. That's all there is to it. So there is just a ton of different things. I even talked about the outside, where there's a baseboard that goes around the outside, both top and bottom, so that the acrylic fits between those. And that has to get done out there as well. So a lot of things that we're going to be doing here, and we're going to get started on that today. And so Jeff's going to come in here and start taking care of this. Brian and I are going to go outside on the deck and probably start working on those 3 spots where the rain catchment system needs to be finished. Now that Jeff's finished grinding this all down over there for the 2 runs we have to do, and this side, there's some gaps that we have to fill in here, and so we're having Brian mix this up some thickened epoxy right now, and then we'll put that fill in, and then we're going to go ahead and put 2 layers of tabbing down this. I'm going to do one at a time in here because it's not a hot day, but because this is really sealed up in here still, it traps the heat up here, so it's pretty warm in this room right now. So we don't want it to set up too fast. So we're just going to do 1 run, so everything all the way to the peel ply, and then we'll mix for the second one and mix for the third one and get those 3 done today. This is the fun part, working with epoxy above your head. Now, why didn't we do this before we put the roof up here? Because this cabin top is gigantic. There was no way, short of a crane, and we didn't have a crane, to flip this thing over and do this stuff. So we did the top, and it's all already tabbed and everything, but we couldn't get to the underneath side, and we couldn't flip it over. So we knew we were going to have to do this on the ceiling, so to speak. But it's one of the benefits of going with advanced material solutions over one of the other options for panels from Schoenig, because there's my first drip. Because with advanced material solutions, there's very few panels to make up this thing. So we only have to glass 3 lines down this, where if we had gone with one of the other ones, we would have had crossing ones all over the place. It would have been made out of closer to 20 pieces instead of 3. And so it's one of the big benefits of the huge panels you get from advanced material solutions, is you have fewer joints to deal with. And this is one of those joints that we're having to deal with, but it's one of the few up here. Okay, I'm gonna come back to the front because I've got a little bit of a lip up here that I'm gonna have to get a lot more epoxy here. Okay, that's all pretty much covered. Spot right there, little mic. done, 2 to go. So it drifted a little bit as we went, but not anything serious. So our tarp caught whatever little drips there were. Now we'll get on the other side. Last one for today. I haven't gotten the epoxy on my head yet. I got one more chance to do it though. If I work hard, I could manage it. Ta-da! Whew. And that's it for this week. More fun will continue next week on the cabin top because this is just the first step in getting this part glassed in. We got a temporary post here. That's just to make sure that it's up at the right height here while it's setting up. We started work on the outside, but it was a little too damp from the rains to finish the rain gutter part up, so we got that drying. Monday, hopefully, we'll finish up that last 3 little gaps in the rain gutter system. And that will lead to gluing down the top on here, and so it'll finally become the permanent part of the boat. We won't have to worry about any winds coming and trying to lift it off. The last couple of major winds we've had to strap it down securely, but we're about to get it glued and tabbed in, and so that's the plan for next week, and we're gonna stick to it.
So we survived the rain, but we've got more coming next week.
But it's all right. The tarp system that we put up over the thing kept most of the rain out, and there on the little bit that got in there, we're going to fix that up so that next week's rain won't even get that part in, so we won't have to clean up any of that stuff. But as you saw, we got started on the cabin top, and we got a lot more work to do on that. So the first thing we're going to do on Monday is get started on that, fixing up the last of that rain catchment stuff. So a lot to go next week, and we're going to work extra long days because we're going to have to take off a couple for rain. But we'll see you next week for that.
Thank you all for watching and joining us, and a special thank you to our patrons listed here. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
See you next week.
Bye.